would you do if you run completely out of cash? What would you do if you wanna cut a dash? Polish up the shoes, throw on something fine. We don't talk about diesels, I'm running on style this time. Cruising down the boulevard, wheels gleam in the night. Beige leather interior, looking chic alright. Money's a little tight, but I'm feeling brand new. Living large tonight, no budget reviews. Blues! What do you mean I'm not getting paid for this?
Right, viewers, it's been a while since we've had a Montego estate on my channel. I did do one in 2021. It was a bit later than this. It was a 1991 2-litre Countryman. This is a 1988 1.6L. I think the 1.6L was the base model for the estate at the time. This is a very late pre-facelift one. Facelift occurred autumn of 88, so it's one of the last of the pre-facelift ones. And yes, it is several different shades of blue, combined with filler and I don't even know. If we open the tailgate, some bits of rust might fall out. Now, before you say anything, viewers, this car has 12 months MOT on it. It just had one, the first one since 2012, I think, and it's only got one advisory for a cracked mirror. The kind of bits of filler that are falling out of the body and the bits of rust that are falling out of the tailgate, that's nothing to do with it. This is an incredible survivor car. The thing is, we don't even know how much this car is worth because it was swapped for a Triumph Herald 1360 estate. So I'm assuming it's no budget reviews money. I don't really know. What I do know is it's fine to drive on the road because the MOT man says it is. So that's fine. Montego Estate is actually quite a handsome car. It's more handsome, in my opinion, than the Saloon. I don't think the Saloon looks too bad. It was tied up at the last minute by Roy Axe, originally designed in the late 70s, I think by David Bache, who originally designed the Maestro in Montego. But they had to delay production of the car for quite a long time, actually, and they only came out in 1984, the estate late 84. And I actually think it's not a bad-looking car. I mean, this isn't the best example of Montego Estate I've ever seen, but I think it actually, you know, looks okay. If it's like a Van den Pla or something, this is the L, so it's quite low down the pecking order. Also, the previous owner, I think, painted these door handles. They should be black. On a Van den Pla, it'd be chrome, and on the MG version, maybe body colour. But an amazing survivor. You just don't see these anymore at all, really. So open up. We haven't got the most highly spec'd interior. We've got no electric windows, no electric mirrors, no rev counter, and a cracked dashboard. But then all these Montegos I've seen, I've only ever seen one Montego without a cracked dashboard, so that's not a problem. Strangely enough, the rear wiper is down here, which I don't really understand because, you know, they had money to develop an entirely new dash for the Montego, which was later fitted to the Maestro in 1986. So I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to put them down there, but never mind. Seats reasonably comfortable. The interior trim's actually quite nice. It's not too bad. We're missing some pad restraints, but never mind. We'll take a seat in here. It just says Montego on here because in 1987 they removed the Austin badge from these cars. So by 88, even on a pre-faced one like this, it's just called a Montego. Really, really poor design for the heating and ventilation. You can't actually see when you're driving some of the controls. It's a really badly designed thing. Like, look, you can't really see that. On the later cars, heating ventilation was moved to this panel sort of down here, and they do have a later dashboard from the sort of October 88 facelift onwards. Little clock in here, I'm sure it would light up a bit if I were to put the key in. Heated rear window, it's fog lamp, decadent, a cigarette lighter. That was where the electric mirror control should be. This has the Volkswagen 5-speed gearbox in it. The 2-litre models have a Honda PG1 5-speed gearbox, although there's an automatic you can get as well. Very nostalgic sort of thing, because when I was younger, at prep school, one of my friend's mothers had a Montego Estate. It was a green Countryman. It's a bit of a later one. So, rotating ashtray here, of course. No rev counter, because we don't need one apparently. And then windy windows, these famous things that sort of come out like this, these little knobs come out like that, and not the most kind of solid feeling interior, but this car is very old now. It's over 35 years old. It's kind of still going, despite the cracked dashboard. because they all do that, sir. Right. I think I might get my secret mission documents out in a bit, but we've got Hit Mix 86. Hit Mix 86 Volume 1. World Party Bang. And Sky. John Williams, Herbie Flowers, Kevin Peake, Tristan Fry, and Francis Monkman. Interesting. We've got an interesting headliner as well, because the headliners on these Montegos do tend to droop, and this one's been replaced by a bit of old carpet, because that's the vibe we're going for, bits of old carpet. I'm actually quite impressed with how comfortable and spacious this car is. I think it's actually pretty good. I mean, obviously if it's a Van den Pla, we want a Van den Pla, don't we? That's what we want, a Van den Pla with a nice leather interior. That's what we want, viewers, but we'll have to make do with what we've got. So these favours indicated wiper stalks for haulers on the end here. I'm not going to sound that. That is on for the lights. That is the wipers. The real intermittent wipe on this, isn't that posh? And then the rear wipers down there. There's a coin tray here with a very old pound coin in it. Yes, that, viewers, is no longer legal tender. That's what a shame. I have to change that at the bank. Right, yeah, I've got this classic handbrake grip in here. These seat belts on stalks. Little thing down there. The ashtray, which is this thing, is quite a long way from a cigarette lighter. Right, let's get in the back and see what is going on in there. So, let's get in the back. Doors are re-profile compared with the saloon a bit, I think. So, actually getting in the back should be okay. We'll just move this gentleman here. He looks a bit afraid. Who are you going to call? And then we got Salty the Seal. He looks a bit sad. Sorry, Salty. Sorry to interrupt your day. Actually, the headroom's really good. I mean, this headlining's a bit funny, but if you had a normal headliner here, it'd be all right. Plenty of space to sit upright. I mean, we could do with some optional head restraints in here, but never mind. And then we've got some wonderful ashtrays like this, the old-fashioned ones like you get in an old Metro. No map pockets, because it's only an L, and we need a Van den Pla, but never mind. And actually, it's quite nice. There's a lot of space in here. You can see why these were incredibly popular family cars back in the day, particularly the estates. Much more sort of knee rim than in a Maestro, but it's a longer wheelbase in the Montego. So nicely designed, really. You know, you really could sort of stand some of the kind of bits of interior that aren't quite in the first flush of youth. This could be a reasonably good sort of family car for someone who likes an older, a daily one. I quite like these. I mean, you know, that's probably quite obvious that I like them. Maybe you're not the sort of person who's into Montegos, but I like them. This is the fourth one I've actually driven, so there we go. Right, Salty, let's have a look in the boot, shall we? Yes, that's what we're going to do. I wouldn't say the best angle of his car is at the back. I mean, we can see some flakes of rust that have fallen off his tailgate. I believe Remy, who owns this, is going to look for a new tailgate. You can see the previous owners had interesting ideas about how to paint a car. If you ever saw Ian Seabrook's roller painting of his Ryan Fox back in the day, I think this is worse. Little tennis ball there. There we go. Tailgate, please work, please work. There we go. Ugh. Good, right. Okay, so we've got this interesting kind of proprietary load cover someone's made. Presumably on the L you didn't get one, so you have to make your own. That's what somebody's done. Okay, right, so if you had a 7-seat model, this wasn't a 5-seater, you'd have the rear seats kind of down here. So that's the sort of front of it. If you want to get to the spare, you've got to kind of get in here and pull this thing. Right, we have. There we go. There it is. I'm going to have to sort this floor out in a bit because it's not the most sophisticated arrangement in this floor. We'll have to just leave that there, viewers, and come back a bit later. Yeah, interesting. He's gloss painted this sill as well. Okay. So actually quite a practical boot. It's a very nice square shape. You almost get as much space in here as you would in doing something like a Volvo 240 or 740. Just noticed kind of round here there's bits of okay. Oh, viewers, we love no budget reviews. You never know what you're going to get. There's the Austin Rover logo on the rear light. So it's actually continued until the estate was discontinued in the 1990s, although Austin Rover as a company ceased to exist around the same kind of time this car was made, about 1988. Yeah, it's wheel trim action and all kinds of exciting colours on this side. Let's stop speculating about how many shades of blue it is, viewers, and let's have a look at the engine, shall we? So when they were designing the Montego, they didn't put in the R series from the early Maestros. The R series was a terrible, terrible engine, and most of them were recalled actually. They only lasted about a year on the market. This is the later version of 1.6 called the S series, and it develops about 86 horsepower. They're not necessarily the best engines ever. The O series, which is more powerful than this, but was also fitted to the Montegos, is a better engine than this 1.6. We're still on a carb there we go, there's a carb. Cam belt engine as well, but to be fair, if you look underneath the bonnet of this, there's not really a lot to this car. Not really, there's no air conditioning or anything, there's no power steering even in this car. So actually working on this doesn't look very difficult, provided you can get the bits. Obviously Montegos are very, very rare now, so some bits of this car will be hard to find, but basic mechanical shouldn't be too bad. So there we go, a little bit of a weep of the cam cover gasket, which is pretty normal for one of these. But yeah, I mean, this is the sort of normal spec of a family car from 1988. This is carburettor 1.6 engine, no power steering, which means it's incredibly nostalgic. And actually, he's not really had a go to the previous owner at painting too much of this underneath, so that's good. Although we just looked at the grille with a sort of brush painted effect, and that's not too good. The facelift cars have a little sort of badge on them. It looks like a Rover logo, but it's not a Rover logo, because although the cars were sold by Rover dealers and appeared in the catalogue under Rover, were listed under Rover names many times, but Rover was never used on any Montego apart from sometimes abroad. You can call it Rover Montego if you want after the 1988 facelift, but the badge is nowhere on the car. Anyway, let's take this beauty out for a drive, shall we, viewers? So Alex from Alex's Assets is in the car.
Hello.
Because this is owned by
Roger.
Yeah, Roger's here too. Owned by Remy, a good gentleman who has an interesting collection of cars and interesting car history. I think compared to the Triumph Herald 1360 estate, I do prefer this Montego.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe I'm biased about that, but we've got like much better brakes, and we've got an all synchromesh gearbox, which is better with 5 speed. You know, from start, that's much easier to drive than a Herald. Brakes are, he's told me, a little bit soft. They're all right actually. They're like my Nissan Sunny, which is the same year as this car, or a bit newer. What's the clutch? It's not the fastest car I've ever driven. You have to attack the throttle with a certain degree of belligerence because there's only 86 horsepower. The 1.3 engine was 68 horsepower, which was fitted to some earlier Montegos, wasn't used in the estate, but someone decided a few years ago to retrofit a 1.3 to a 1.6 Montego estate. I have seen it. Why you would do that, I have absolutely no idea, but someone did. Better is to go for a 2 litre if you can. You could get, you know, lower trim levels, but really what you want is something like a Mayfair or a Van der Pla. Later on, after the facelift, you'll be looking at a GSI or something like that. The GSI is very nice. I don't think they ever made an MG Montego estate, but really they kind of should, because it would have been a very interesting car. The 2 litres came in 2 forms. What I tried last time, which is 2021, I was driving the estate, was a 104 horsepower car, and then there was the fuel injected version with 2 litre EFI, 115 horsepower. If you really wanted to go crazy in your Montego, you could get the O series 2 litre with a turbo, 150 horsepower, and absolute tyre shredding acceleration. But you know, we're not really in one of those today. There were also some diesels available, but as usual, due to controversial government legislation and all kinds of other reasons, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. So this Volkswagen Source 5-speed manual is actually better than I remember it being in the Maestros. It's not a very fast car. It's really what you want. It's a 2 litre, but this is fine. It's actually a little bit faster than I remember them being. So not too much of a problem. The brakes are a little bit softer in this particular car, which again is right, I suppose. The best thing about a Montego really is the ride and handling, because it's significantly different from Maestro for some reason. Maestros don't drive particularly badly. These are a bit better. Hello, Bramwell. He's trying to buy a Brontosaurus while trying to drive a Montego. So a new experience for most of us. So actually, considering this car's at 117,500 miles, the suspension's actually alright. The bodywork's sort of tatty and weird, but suspension is okay. Gearbox actually slots in quite nicely in this car. The lack of power steering is only really a problem when you're at low speed. If you're driving, just typical town speeds like we are now, it's not a problem. And actually, the seat's quite comfortable. It's surprising, really. You can see why these cars actually were quite appealing to somebody who would sort of get in and have a go. You think actually, in some way, that it's a little bit better to drive than a Sierra. Sierras aren't too bad. I drove one of those last year, 1.6. LX from 1987, and it wasn't too bad, but this is just a little bit easier than that. Being front-wheel drive, the packaging is slightly better than on the Sierra. But then again, around this time we were in the last sort of throes of the Mark II Cavalier, and actually probably the Mark II Cavalier in many ways is a bit of a better car than this. It's not like Montego doesn't have its advantages, because it has many advantages actually. But Mark II Cavalier might be slightly better in terms of the quality, I think, as well. But I really like this. I love the fact that cars in this sort of condition don't really exist anymore. I've been really pampered, or they're a spares car. This is kind of somewhere in between. And the owner who did this interesting kind of bodywork on it, interesting paintbrushes and colours and things like that, he's actually kept this car going. It's been on for over 10 years. Robbie's managed to put it back on the road, and it's amazing to drive around in this thinking that he's using this on a daily basis, and it's a really practical car. There's nothing to it really at all. There's no complicated electronics to go wrong. There's no kind of stupid wet belts to worry about. It's very spacious for the size of the car. It's actually not that difficult to drive. I thought it'd be harder than this. It's not that bad. And actually, the engine's got a bit more go than I thought it would, so it can't be in that bad a condition. You've got to make sure you do the cam belts on these. The biggest thing to watch for on a Montego is rust, obviously. Like so many other cars of years, the Mark II Cavaliers and the Sierras were just as bad, if not sometimes even worse. Look at the 87 Sierras. They were very bad. But everything rusted back in the day. And this is... so it's on the road. The estate's very rare. You don't see many of them. The slings were more common back in the day. And so I am delighted to have been offered this for review, because I really like it. I don't know why I wouldn't do viewers, but I do. So viewers, should you consider a Montego estate for your hard-earned budget up to £1,000? Well, I don't think really you get an awfully pristine car for £1,000 in Montego anymore. They're quite rare, and nice ones will fetch in excess of £5,000 if you can find a van to plough. The MGs are even more than that. But if you want something that's a bit like this, they do come up from time to time, then I don't see why you shouldn't. You've got to check it very, very carefully, because it's a very old car now. They weren't just the best in quality back in the day, but why not? Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment below. We shall see you again soon for some more inexpensive motoring.
What would you do if you run completely out of cash. What would you do if you wanna cut a dash? Polish up the shoes, throw on something fine. We don't talk about diesels, I'm running on style this time. Cruising down the boulevard, wheels gleam in the night. Beige leather interior, looking chic alright. Money's a little tight, but I'm feeling brand new.